Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to crack the code on a super common reason your check engine light might be on, the infamous P0138. So, there it is, that dreaded yellow light staring back at you from the dash. You plug in your code reader and it spits out P0138. I know that feeling. But hey, don't sweat it. We're going to break down exactly what your car is trying to tell you and figure out what to do next.
First things first, what in the world does P0138 actually mean? Let's get right to the heart of the issue.
All right, let's break it down. P0138 means O2 sensor circuit high voltage, and it's pointing to a very specific sensor, Bank 1 Sensor 2. See, your car's main brain, the computer, is expecting the voltage from this sensor to kind of bounce around. When it just gets stuck, especially stuck high, we're talking above 0.9 volts, that's when it flags the problem and flips on the light.
So what does high voltage even mean in this context? Well, it's the sensor's way of saying there's very little oxygen in the exhaust. It's basically screaming at the computer, hey, we're running way too rich over here, too much fuel, not enough air. But here's the kicker, it's screaming this all the time, and it could just be a false alarm.
And this constant signal can have some very real effects. You might feel like you're suddenly best friends with the gas station attendant because your fuel economy has tanked. Or maybe the engine's just not happy. It's running rough, hesitating a bit, and yeah, good luck passing an emissions test with this code. It's pretty much an automatic fail.
All right, we know what the code is telling us, but before we can fix anything, we gotta play detective and find the source of the signal. So where is this Bank 1 Sensor 2 hiding?
Okay, the best way to picture these O2 sensors. Think of them like little inspectors on your car's exhaust assembly line. They're just sitting there, checking the exhaust gases and reporting back to the boss, the computer, about how everything's running and how well the emission system is working.
Okay, let's tackle the Bank 1 part of the name. If you've got a simple 4-cylinder engine, piece of cake. You only have one bank, so that's Bank 1. But if you're rocking a V6 or a V8, you've got two banks of cylinders. Bank 1 is always the side that has the number 1 cylinder. The other side, you guessed it, that's Bank 2.
And that brings us to the last part of the name, Sensor 2. This isn't the first inspector on the line, it's the second one. You'll find it downstream, which is just a fancy way of saying it's located after the catalytic converter. Sensor 1 is all about adjusting the fuel mix, but Sensor 2, its whole job is quality control. It's there to make sure the catalytic converter did its job and cleaned up the exhaust.
Okay, so we've located our sensor. Now let's line up the usual suspects. What's actually causing this thing to send out that constant high voltage signal?
So look, a lot of the time, like 60% of the time, it's exactly what you'd think. The O2 sensor itself has just given up the ghost. But, and this is important, don't just assume that's the problem. About a quarter of the time, it's a wiring issue. And sometimes the sensor is actually doing its job perfectly and telling you there's a real problem with your engine running rich.
Let's dig a little deeper into these prime suspects. First, the sensor itself is just plain faulty. They wear out, it happens. Or you could have a wiring short. Maybe a wire got too close to the hot exhaust, melted, and is now touching something it shouldn't be. Even something as simple as water or corrosion getting into the plug can cause a short. And then there's the possibility that the sensor is the hero here, not the villain. It could be correctly reporting that your engine really is running too rich. Yeah, and if the engine is genuinely running rich, well, that's a whole different can of worms. Now you're looking at things like a leaky fuel injector that's just dumping way too much fuel in, or maybe your mass airflow sensor is on the fritz and telling the computer the wrong amount of air is coming in.
Okay, that's a lot of possibilities, right? So how do you figure out which one it is? You can't just guess. You need a game plan, a diagnostic playbook.
The key here is to follow the steps in order. Don't skip ahead. First up, see if there are any other codes. P0138 might just be a symptom of a different problem. Then, just use your eyes. Look at the wiring. Is it melted or obviously damaged? Next, grab that scan tool again and look at the live data. Is that voltage really stuck high? If it is, you can start testing the wiring for shorts. And if the wiring is fine, then you can start investigating if you have a rich fuel condition.
And this number right here, 0.9 volts, this is the magic number. This whole entire problem, this P0138 code, it all boils down to the computer seeing a signal that just won't drop below this voltage. That's the trigger.
All right, you've done the detective work, you've found the culprit. Now it's time to actually fix the problem and get that light turned off.
Your fix is going to fall into one of two buckets. You're either going to repair something or replace something. A repair might be as simple as fixing a damaged wire. But let's be real, more often than not, the solution is just to replace that bad O2 sensor, especially after your diagnosis has confirmed it's the source of the problem. Okay, so you've done the repair or replaced the part. You're not done yet. There are a couple of final, really important steps. First, you got to plug that scanner back in and clear the code. This tells the computer to forget about the old problem. And then, and this is the moment of truth, take the car for a good test drive. You need to make sure that light stays off for good.
So, the next time that check engine light pops on, try not to just groan and see it as a pain. Think of it like this. Your car is talking to you. It's telling you something specific is wrong. The real question is, are you listening?